Hey everybody, anybody who's watching. I'm doing this because I'm getting a lot of questions about how I create add-ons, and it's really not an easy question to answer, to be honest with you. It's kind of involved, or can be, and there's some of them are really complicated, and some of them are really simple. So I figured the best way to maybe handle it would be to just do a stream. I realize a lot of you, as the channel's still very young, new, and I don't have a lot of subscribers yet. I think 400 now, which is great for me. I'm happy about that. But then there's probably not going to be anybody actually watching in real time while I'm giving this introduction. But I want it to be there as a for people who might find this video in the future and might find it helpful. So, anyways, I'm working on a this is an add-on that I'm working on that we're hoping to get published here in the next probably about a month now is the target on it. It's for a partner with the Microsoft Minecraft partner program, and they hire me strictly like as a developer. I don't do any of some of the stuff I do on the regular channel. On my YouTube channel includes me having to make models, 3D models, and textures and things like that. That's because I'm not going to pay someone else to do it to make the kind of some of it kind of goofy content that I make. So, but you'll see there's very professional models made on this and entities and mobs. So when it all comes together, it looks real good. So what I'm doing now is I've gotten the models of the mobs and then I've gotten the animations and things like that. So now I'm tying them in together with the behavior pack. So that's what this is. This is for a rat that's going to be part of it. It's going to be I get a list of desired behaviors and traits that they sent me, and I'm not actually going to show you. I'm going to try not to show you that on screen because there is some stuff I shouldn't be disclosing. But I will at least take a look at it here, and I'll read them out to you. Let's see. Where did it go? My drive. Wrong account, of course. All right. So are we still on here? Yep. All right. Cool. So is it still going? Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So this is the mob specification for the rat. They wanted to have a wither bite effect. They wanted to be tameable and mountable. And the loot table needs to have rotten flesh and bone. So that's what it needs to drop. Okay. So I've added the wither effect already. I'll show you where I do that. This is the behavior for this particular mob. Hold on one second. All right. So in there you have component groups and then your components. Components are behaviors that are cooked into the entity. They don't change. They're if it's an unaltered state, it'll be there when it loads in the entirety of its life. So like an example of that would be the scale. This one's going to scale to one times its model size. So it's going to be the same size as the model. You can make that bigger, you make that smaller. But that's right here in the components. Now, component groups up here are things that we can change using events. So you have your base entity, and say that you have a scale component in there. That's one, like we just did, like 1. Now I could put an event that would trigger a component group to kick in, and then I could put a scale up in that component group of 1.5. So when the event triggers the component group, it will add those components to the entity and then overwrite what's there. So it would then scale up to 1.5 times its size, if that makes sense. So that's what the component groups are. So these are packages of like different traits you want to add. Like one of these that I have is called melee. Melee is a kind of attack that entities do. They either do a melee or a range. Okay, melee means like right in on top of each other, fighting like hand-to-hand combat kind of deal. So I have a group here that's for melee. And when that gets added, you add the ability for it to see a target that it wants to, or a mob that it wants to target. It adds the behavior of melee attack, which you can specify how strong the attacks are, and the reach and things like that. And then the attack is just gives you the amount of damage, and you can also add an effect to it, which I have the wither effect because they asked for that. Okay, so then that closes that one out. So if I trigger that, all those three things then all of a sudden start applying it right away to the mob, to the rat. So down here in the events, you'll see I have an event called Spec Melee. So that's going to remove anything that would counteract what we're adding, and then add what we want to add through component groups, like I just showed you. And then the way that we're triggering that event is through a sensor. So we're using an entity sensor. So how I have it set up right now is the rat is looking for, it has a sensor always firing every tick. It's firing, looking for a mob that has the family monster, which is what all by default, all the zombies, skeletons, all those things, they all have a monster as their family. So if one of those gets within 5 blocks of it, it will then trigger the component group for the melee attack, and then so it'll allow it then to identify a target, attack the target, and that's how it works. Okay, so that's and then once the mob moves out, or it's either killed or moved out of the range of the 5 blocks, then it'll get what we call, I have a melee, a calming event, which will take away all the melee components and add calming ones, so it won't be mad anymore. All right, so that's kind of how that works, and that's done through, this is actually called Bridge. I use this sometimes. I also use Visual Studio Code. Bridge is kind of cool when you're, for beginners, and then if there's certain times where it's useful. One reason why I'm using it right now is actually because it's easier for me to export it. Once I have a test version in place, it's kind of a pain in the butt then to update the packs. You have to go and change the manifest and stuff like that. So, but this just makes it easier. So that's why I'm doing that. But that's that's just kind of showing you guys the process, like what you have to go through to get these things in place. Now, this is a pretty basic entity that we're working on. Some add-ons, though, are much more basic than this. Some of my most favorite ones that I've uploaded so far, I think 2 of them don't have any entities in them. So, and I'm kind of I kind of prefer that kind of thing. There's really like 2 kinds of developers and development that you can do for Bedrock. One of them is probably the more popular, or actually, it certainly is the most popular. It's the mob-based add-ons, people adding new animals, new monsters, things like that, which is cool. I can do it. I don't prefer to do that though. What's interesting to me is doing the other style of add-on, which is, or category of add-on, and this is very not official or formal. This is just my kind of thought process. So you have the mobs, and then you have what I like doing, which is like world manipulation and gameplay, the mechanic changing. So that's kind of where I really enjoy doing that more than I enjoy doing the stuff I'm doing right here. But this is what most of my work is, though, is that it would be the mob-based stuff, because that's where people want to download at the marketplace. So I hope that gives you a little bit better look into what it is that I do, how I do it, and kind of how, if you're interested in getting into it, this is kind of like the things you need to learn. And I'm thinking about doing like a tutorial thing of videos because of all the questions I've had about how to do it. But that's really not it wasn't my intention when I started the channel. I don't know how effective I would be at that. I'm not a great communicator when it comes to that kind of communication. So I'm debating on whether or not it's going to be worth it, and it's something that will be a good reflection or consistent with what I'm trying to accomplish with my channel. So right now, my only goal for that channel is to get stuff out to you guys. Just content that I make that isn't quite suitable for the marketplace, but I still think is cool and enjoyable and fun. So that's the kind of the goal for what I'm doing right now. And I don't know if teaching people how to make add-ons is going to really tie into that. So I'm still kicking that around, but it seems to be what people want to see or want to know about. So I don't know. In that respect, I would like to make them because I'd like to provide what you guys are looking for. So anyhow, just keep an eye out for that. I'll have some more updates. I'm going to be updating the Better Build tools pretty soon here with some new brushes. And then I also have a new hacker tool that I'm working on because the XP farm is no longer working with the update. So I got kind of a replacement in place for that and some other cool features. So keep a lookout for that. If you happen to stumble upon this video and you're interested in these kind of things and you like adding, or installing add-ons and playing modified versions of Minecraft, think about subscribing. And thanks for joining me. Take care.